Well, we're back reworking the village of Grapevine.
Ah,
We kind of left that off for a couple of weeks, and now we're back.
of course.
And this week, the number one thing we're doing is, we're rebuilding the bathroom.
Nice.
So we have a bathroom out in the garden, or the restroom, as we Americans will sometimes say.
Ah,
Now, as we mentioned before, we wanted to use this European bathroom.
use it? Yeah. Of course, that's what it's there for.
Well, I like this bathroom a lot. I'm digging it deeper as we go.
That's right.
This is for the village of Shaneweiler.
Uh-huh.
Shaneweiler, and that's not how you say bathroom. That's just
It's a place.
that's
in
this
Germany.
place where this bathroom is.
So book your next vacation there because I believe you'll be glad you did.
It's a very restful place. It's European.
Of course.
Now, as we mentioned before, I found this one rather beat up on eBay. I like beat up because then you save some money.
Exactly. Plus you can add your own touches.
And I love doing that. And I get a kick out of reworking these things
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
and turning them into something nice and restful.
Yes. Especially the nice part.
A nice bathroom in the garden. And again, as we mentioned before, I'm sandwiching the bathroom between...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Sandwich has connotations.
Uh-huh.
I'm placing the bathroom between the depot and the red building here, which is Truman's Haberdashery.
That sounds like a good place for a place. Yeah.
Well, Truman needs to be near
Yeah,
the bathroom, so
Yeah.
Truman's Haberdashery is right next to the bathroom. The key here, of course, is placing the bathroom right next to the depot, as there are no public bathrooms inside the depot.
No, but you've got to go somewhere.
Well, it's a necessity.
You're talking
Yes.
to the right person here.
And so anyway, the plan is to place it right here next to the depot. There's going to be wood sidewalks, boardwalks, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess
Another boardwalk.
another boardwalk. But a wooden sidewalk all the way around the whole village here. So the wooden trail here begins at the depot and proceeds across the front of the bathroom, over to the haberdashery, around the haberdashery, over to the saloon,
Yeah.
from the saloon to the hotel.
Just make sure they're anchored down real tight or you'll be planning your next trip.
Pun intended.
Yes.
And actually, in terms of anchoring it down, this wood just really wants to warp and come loose. So you can see what I've done here is the runners that the boards are going to be attached to are very tightly screwed down to the benchwork so that they cannot warp. The buildings also set on these stringers, and so here again, it's very important that these be very, very, very well attached to the benchwork. The slats, the boards that make up the boardwalk, come in 4 different lengths.
Oh.
And so what I did is I figured out what those lengths are, and then using my Northwest Short Line chopper, I just set that up to cut these lengths and then just cut a bunch of each size.
Right. That is the handiest little gadget.
Isn't that wonderful?
Oh, it is.
If you don't have one of these, go buy one.
Get one.
Yeah. Then all of that's going to be glued down to the stringers with Gorilla Wood Glue Ultimate. It's a more or less waterproof, water-resistant outdoor wood glue. And hopefully that will keep the slats here, the boards in place on top of the stringers. And if they do come loose, it should be a very easy fix.
Let's hope.
Because they just sit there.
Right.
And they would almost just sit there on their own without any glue. I mean, that'd be kind of silly. But there's not a lot of stress on the glue. So I think we're going to be okay just simply gluing these down with Gorilla Wood Glue Ultimate. Now you can kind of see here how this works, why there's different lengths of these. I'm making the boards longer where it goes between the bathrooms and the haberdashery. and that locks the buildings in place.
Oh, that is a neat idea.
And then there's a little block on the other side to help position that to hold it right up against the sidewalk. I got these ideas from Steve.
That is really nifty.
And so once these buildings are set in place, they're not going to blow away in our traditional 100-mile-an-hour east winds.
No, because it was like the Wizard of Oz or something sometimes.
No kidding. We have had, let's say, some destruction out there.
Yes, have to chase one of your buildings in somebody else's yard.
So I want to make sure they're well anchored. And so that was the key, pun intended,
Yes.
that locks the buildings in place are the various lengths of wood on the wood sidewalks here. I was trying to figure out exactly how I wanted the sidewalk to go around over to Bell's place, the saloon, and it makes for a really narrow little space here. So I thought I'm just going to block it completely off with sidewalk because it wouldn't be a functional road or anything to go back in there. So I thought I'm just going to have the sidewalk make a little dog leg that helps bind the haberdashery in place, and then in front of the saloon, it's just going to be a very, very narrow little boardwalk all the way over to the street light.
That'll be cool because it adds depth.
Now, once the sidewalks were built, I need to get some stain and some waterproofing on there because I don't want them sucking up water like a sponge.
No.
And so, as per my tradition and everything else on the whole railroad, I'm staining this using Watco Danish wood oil. And mostly I'm using the dark walnut color, which I use on everything, but I kind of blend everything with golden oak and natural to give variations in the color. The dark oak, the walnut itself can look pretty dark. So first I put on the natural color, and then I come in with the dark walnut and add that into the lighter color. And then with these stains, it's really important to put a good sloppy amount on there so that it soaks in, but you can't let it dry on there.
Oh, really?
It'll leave a gooey, sticky residue. It's almost like putting honey or something on here. So you let it soak in for a while, and then you come back with a cloth and wipe the whole thing off.
Oh, okay.
Then you take the cloth and seal it in something airtight and put it in the trash immediately, because this stuff will self-combust.
Oh, yeah, all that stuff, you've got to be careful.
I burned the whole roof off the house that way.
Oh, gee, yeah, just be very careful with this stuff.
I was an idiot. I was in my 20s, and right here at the house here at the Garage Mahal, I left one of these cloths out just sitting on the garden furniture during the hot part of the day. It caught fire and took the whole roof off the house.
Well, there you go. Lesson learned.
So anyway, you can see here, now I'm getting the oil back off of the wood. You can see it leaves a lovely finish after it's soaked in. And then a thin coat of Thompson's Water Seal to make sure that this whole thing, hopefully, is more or less watertight and it's not going to soak up water.
Oh, it looks authentic, though.
Boy, doesn't that look neat?
It's beautiful.
You can see why I love Watco Danish wood oil.
Oh, yes.
I just use it on everything. So there's the finished product. Takes a little while for the oil to completely dry out and everything to dry out, and there it is.
That is just really cool. It looks like people have been walking on it and everything.
And that's a lot of that's because I mix the oils together.
Yeah, it comes out variegated colors, which it gives it lighter appearance in the middle, and like people have been walking there.
Oh, and then I cheat ever so slightly before putting the water seal on, I lightly sand.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And I sand a little bit more toward the middle.
Yes.
And it gives it that walked on look.
Nice.
But there it is.
I like it.
And you can see how it's locking the haberdashery in place, and so I had to bring out the mayor.
There you go.
For inspection, and the townsfolk all showed up, but the mayor gave it his approval. You know, I voted for him last time.
Oh, you did?
I voted twice, as a matter
good.
of fact. Yeah. Okay, let's go to the bathroom.
No, let's don't. But let's visit the possibility.
Let me rephrase that. Let's rework the bathroom.
Always.
Yeah, so you can see that it's missing some pieces here on the roof. So I'm using another Steve technique, and that's creating bar tiles out of heat shrink tubing.
Oh, that's a neat idea.
You know, heat shrink tubing comes in a whole bunch of different sizes, and find the size that works for you. Don't shrink it first.
No.
You don't want to just put this on in its unshrunk form. Here's what it looks like once it's shrunk, and it's just very difficult to work with.
Oh dear, yeah, it's all goofy.
And it's just it's so much easier to work with, and life is so much better if you just don't shrink it. Just use it in its natural form. Because shrunken, it's just a little clunky.
It looks like the heat's been after it.
It's super, super, super easy to cut.
Yes.
Again, before it's been shrunken. And so the first thing you do is very carefully split it right up the middle, because it's a tube, and you need to create 2 half-round tiles. So the stuff has a bit of a fold in it, the way it's delivered. So I just cut it right along the fold, and then kind of carefully pinched it and everything to make sure it was back to a half-round shape. And then the angles, where it ties into the roof and to match the angle on the roof, super simple, just a pair of scissors, figure out your angle and cut it off at an angle. And same is true up at the peak, just figure out the angle and cut the angle in there, match that from both sides, and you now have a nicely waterproof sealed roof.
Nice.
Now, even though this is outdoors, I couldn't figure out any other way to glue these in place, sort of just gluing them on there with CA.
Right.
And I know that stuff isn't the most waterproof glue in the world, so I'm hoping that it holds up. The key is I'm planning to put a very heavy coat of paint on here.
Oh, that should help.
And that hopefully will get all down into the cracks and provide a moisture barrier so the water can't get to the cyanoacrylic glues that are holding the whole thing together. You know, Steve Stribble, he has used this technique again. This is where we got the idea, but he's done entire roofs this way. Just put upside down, right side up, upside down, right side. Just the exact same way. You know, they do bar tile.
That is interesting.
Just cut out about 1 million of these, because you're going to need about 1 million of
You
these.
can do that while you're watching TV.
Yeah, and he's doing it in O scale.
Oh dear.
So it'll work in even the smaller scales. This tube comes in every conceivable size.
Yes.
So this is much larger than what Steve has done, but boy, it turns out nice.
It does.
Now I had to figure out the pattern for the tiles, because there are these vent pipes, stink pipes, I've heard them called.
Yeah, stink pipe.
But the vent pipes from the bathroom come up through right here. So the tiles end, and then I've got to construct those vent pipes, and then there's this little section in between the vent pipes. And so I just started from either side and then capped it in the middle with a centerpiece.
Oh, there you go.
Now I need to rebuild the fascia boards. 3 of them were here, but the rest of them were all missing. And rather than attempting to match what was there, I just broke off everything that was there, sanded off, and started over.
That's a good idea. Then it will match.
So you can see I've cut them out the proper shape here out of evergreen, and then I'm stressing that, I'm wood graining that with just this saw blade. And look how nice that comes out.
No kidding. It looks just like wood.
And it's so funny because Al, who used this technique exclusively, he built so many of his models out of plastic, and then he won Best Wood Model at the NMRA Nationals with an all-plastic model. But it looked so much like wood that they awarded him Best Wood Model.
Wow.
Now I'm attaching these with plastic weld by Plastruct.
That stuff is wonderful.
Because, I mean, the CA just probably wouldn't hold, and that welds it. It actually takes the 2 plastic pieces and melts them together. It's a solvent-style glue, and it's very easy to work with.
And it doesn't leave a glue trail behind. It's a nice, clean finish.
Yeah, what I did, I sanded in to make sure I had a good flush fit, held the pieces in place, and then just took my brush full of glue and just run it right along the edge. It gets all over everything, and it just doesn't really matter.
Right.
Because, like you say, it doesn't really leave a trail.
No.
and that welds these fascia boards on there. They're not going to come loose. I mean, it'll come loose and break, but it's on there quite well. Let's put it that way. Now, 3 of the 4 doorknobs are missing.
Yeah, boy.
But you've got a technique that you use for this.
I do, but I've got to give credit again to Steve. He was the one that told me about it. And you can just find a really nice nail, like a little brass nail, and about the right size, and it makes a nice looking doorknob. So you just have to drill a hole to accommodate the nail and just kind of push it through there till it looks like a doorknob on the one side, and just use some cutters and then cut off the piece that's sticking through the other side, and you have a doorknob.
And I love with the copper color, you just leave it.
You could just leave it that way, yes. Brass or copper, you bet.
And look at that. It makes a beautiful looking doorknob.
It's perfect.
And because these doors are functional, I need something that I can grab a hold of, and I can get my fingernail right down in there.
Yes, if it's in there secure, you've got a pull for your door.
Being that these things are bare metal, it's a plated on copper, it'll probably discolor over time. And maybe even leave kind of a streak down the door when it gets rain on it and so on. But I actually think that's going to look just fine. But when you get your nose right down in here and really look at it, it looks great from a distance. But even if you get right up close on it, it still makes a darn nice looking doorknob. So I set the building in place just to get some photographs. I have found over the years that if you just take some photographs, when you're looking at something, sometimes, I don't know, your brain filter doesn't show you the truth, but as soon as you take a photograph, you go, what the heck is with this? It looks terrible.
So, do you plan on continuing a fascia across the front of the gingerbread scallopy part?
It wasn't what I intended.
No.
And so you can really see how thin the fascia board is.
Oh, that looks funny.
And so rather than do a vertical cut like this, I think I should do a horizontal cut.
Yeah.
And that's so easy to do with just a pair of nippers.
Yep, nip it off.
And then I'm also going to add a little decorative edge to the front of it to cover up how thin it is.
Yes.
Okay, stink pipes. Mm-hmm. I guess it's okay to call them stink pipes.
Vent pipes, whatever. Vents to get rid of the stink. How about that?
Yeah, and I want them to look like they're cast iron.
Oh.
So first I constructed these little plastic bits that fill in around that hold them in place. And then I put some thin aluminum tube up through that.
Oh.
And then I put black heat shrink over it and shrunk it down.
I'll be darned.
And doesn't that look like cast iron?
Oh, it sure does.
Okay, back outside and take some more pictures and see if this time it looks better.
That looks more convincing.
Yeah, the horizontal cut and then that little trim piece at the bottom. I suppose technically it should be at the top for water, but that wouldn't cover up how thin the piece is. So I put the little decorative piece at the bottom.
There you go.
And it just covers up how very, very thin the fascia boards are.
Right.
But I'm happy with that.
That looks a lot better.
I think we're ready for paint.
Yes.
Now I'm using in some places a lacquer, an acrylic lacquer, and in some places the water-based acrylics, just the regular little craft paints. But I like the lacquers. You have to be careful with them because they'll attack your plastic.
Right.
But I needed to get something on here that would be waterproof.
Right.
And so I worked that down into the cracks. And then a lot of the weathering colors and that sort of thing are done with the water-based acrylics. And then, of course, I can't touch my lacquers anywhere near that evergreen.
No.
It'll destroy it.
Yes,
but
it will.
I was able to put that on the heat shrink without a problem.
Oh, cool.
And really slather it down in there, and I hope that'll waterproof the heat shrink tubing. And then my usual technique of dry brushing. So I'm using the lighter colors of just the water-based acrylics and just these craft paints that we buy over at the craft store, and then just lightly brushing that over the top of the roof and everything to give it a nice weathered appearance.
Looks good.
I actually did, I think, like 5 different coats on here.
Oh my.
In 5 different colors because it's that variegation. It's all lighter colors and kind of working from the darker colors toward the lighter colors. And then, of course, getting that up onto my heat shrink bar tiles as well to help homogenize, make everything seem the same.
So they're not bright yellow anymore.
Okay, back outside. Again, the only way that I've found to really test something is put it in place in the proper light and then take pictures.
That always helps.
And then study your pictures. You're going to see things that you wouldn't otherwise see. But I'm quite happy with that.
It looks great.
I like my vent pipes. I like the colors. I like the doorknobs. I'm thrilled with the whole thing.
That's good.
But then something just hit me.
Uh-oh.
You can always advance something. We haven't done any interiors outside
No.
because it seems sort of pointless. But this building with the doors are going to be left open quite often.
Oh, dear.
Well, how else are you going to know that the room is available?
Well, that's right.
So I just think these bathrooms need an interior.
Absolutely.
And as it happens, we just have drawers and drawers and drawers full of everything imaginable.
Right, and if we don't have that, we can certainly invent it, you know.
Or occasionally go find it online.
Yes, either and or.
But in this case, they were in the drawer-marked dollhouse furniture.
Yes.
And they're actually half-inch scale, and I thought these are going to fit just fine in there. So the first thing is construct some interior walls so that you just can't see the inside of the plastic building. That instead as you look through the doors, you'll be seeing these plastic painted walls. Make sure they're nice and square and fit inside the building because these are going to set in place and then the building will set over them and both sections will be removable. Now the little notch there is for the interior light. And if you guys remember, we put a light between the doors and then Karyn fixed it with some metal repair tape. Because it was shining right through the wall. And so it sits right in that notch and you can't see it because it's just right here between the two doors tucked up against the wall so tight that you can't see it even with the doors open. So the view through the doors is like this. All you see are the interior walls and you can't see the interior light. When it's on, of course, you can see the light from it, but you can't see the light itself. And then the fixtures just set in here like this.
Isn't that neat?
And they'll be welded in again with plastic weld. I can't glue those in until everything's painted, but that's how those are going to sit. And then when the whole thing is in place with the building over the top of it, you can clearly see the fixtures inside. As we mentioned, we plan on leaving the bathroom door open.
Yes, here and there.
Just so you can tell what's occupied and what's not.
Yes, and no action figures on this one.
We do. You made that one figure for
I
the
did.
outhouse.
That one, yeah.
Oh boy, guy reading the newspaper with his pants down. Anyway, that's over at the engine shop. Out here, it's just going to be empty bathrooms with the door open. We can close them, leave them open. They're totally functional, whatever we feel like doing.
Right.
And because it's fall and because it's Utah, it immediately rained on the brand new construction out here. And well,
oh no!
The waterproofing didn't work.
It sure didn't. Now you are going to take a trip.
Well, just a little garden railroading is maintenance.
And it also looks authentic, to be honest.
We've been in that town before.
Yeah.
And darn near tripped in that town before. Anyway, I have a plan. So next week's show is going to be repairing the water damage and making sure it doesn't happen again. Because,
dear.
It's a problem.
Yeah.
But it's a small problem. It's a fixable problem.
Yes, live and learn.
The good news is, I think it turned out great.
I love it.
When the lights are turned on, I think it's magnificent.
Right.
We now have a magnificent bathroom.
Right.
Out in the garden.
At least it's not a disco potty.
Anyway, next up is going to be repairing the damage. And the finishing touches out here, signs and some weeds. We got to get the track ballast back down, put up your power poles.
Right.
And then it's a village.
Again, yes.
So you want to follow along and see how we're going to go about repairing the boardwalks here and how all this is going to come together. And then waiting for the rain to fall on it and test it again.
Yeah.
So you want to follow along with that. And if you're not a subscriber to the channel, you won't be notified when the new show goes up. And you want to be notified when the new show goes up. And so the easy way to subscribe is by clicking on the upcoming blue button. Zoink! Right there, the blue button. Well, we're not sure how you found this video on the internet. We hope you didn't find it boring. And we will see you here on Tuesday.
Right.
We'll see you then.
We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.